Okay, we're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to I believe this is our 8th Coffee with Cobb. Thank you for joining us. My name is Christian Baycoat, and I'll be your host and moderator for today. This webinar will last about 30 minutes or so, and we're going to have an open Q&A over in the text box area, so feel free to ask any questions during the webinar. Today's topic will be about the 3 tiers of IT service and which one is right for you and your business. And today's presenters, we'll have returning Jeff Blunt, our VCIO, and Patrick Judy, our IT solution specialist. And without further ado, Patrick, I'm going to pass it off to you.
All right. Thank you very much, Christian. Today we are going to talk about the 3 different tiers of IT services. First, we're going to kind of define the types of decision makers that we typically talk to, and then the general tiers of IT services that are out there that kind of match up with what would work best for them. So to do this, we're going to be referencing a visual that we like to use to really gauge a potential client and where they may fall when looking for IT services. At the bottom in the red part of this triangle, we have decision makers that either don't view technology in a real positive light and maybe think that it's a pain to have to deal with, or they just don't have a lot of issues, a small amount of technology to deal with, so they really don't have to deal with it that much.
Yeah, Patrick, and that type of decision maker, that type of business is going to look for a low cost or break fix type of service. This type of service is going to be mainly reactionary. It's going to be like an on-call. You're going to pay per call or you're going to pay per issue. Most of the time, this type of provider is also just like a single person. So that's the type of provider that type of decision maker business would look for. Yeah,
and there in the middle, we find decision makers that do see some value in more of a service-based level. This may be someone who has a small to medium-sized business that has someone on staff that can generally take care or troubleshoot issues that people may have from time to time. But they also recognize the need to pay for specific parts or portions of their IT needs.
And that type of business is going to be looking for, this a la carte, or sometimes we even call it partially managed type of IT service. There's going to be some proactive services in this. Maybe we'll take care of your backup or your antivirus or your email or something along those lines. But then there'll also be a pay per call or a break fix type of component built in there also. This type of business is also sometimes a little bit less mature along in their business, a smaller group of employees in this organization. So that's what you can expect with an a la carte type of service.
Yeah, and really once you get up to the top of the triangle, we find decision makers that really do see the value of having that fully managed IT partnership that can provide this type of service for their business. They understand all the components of how this will help their business, or at least they're aware enough to know that there's a lot they don't understand about their business that their IT partner can handle for them. While it is the pricier option, that number really does pale in comparison to any kind of incident or breach that might happen.
And again, the type of provider IT service this is going to fit into is one that has a lot of proactive services, as well as that reactive help desk type is obviously going to be built into that. Typically, a pretty mature type of IT service provider is going to offer this type of service. They've got a lot of the software and a lot of the processes already designed and vetted out, and things run fairly smoothly. Like Patrick said, it is maybe the pricier one. You're going to get a flat monthly cost here. You're going to know pretty much what you're going to pay each month for this one.
Yeah, so moving on, we do have the opportunity to bring in Zach Wilcox, who's our account manager at Collaborants. They act as our master service provider. They serve as our NOC, our help desk partner. They collaborate with us, on the best way to implement certain software or security features. Once we really start talking to a customer about their environment, then we call Zach and his team of collaborants and make sure that we have really the most efficient and effective plan for their network moving forward. So Zach, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little about your role in the company?
Thank you, Patrick. Absolutely. So like Patrick said, Collaborants is a master managed services provider here in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. And really, we serve as an extension of the Cobb team. So we work behind the scenes, making sure that things are running smoothly in the background with their IT networks. And then we also serve as their help desk. So anytime a Cobb partner has an issue, they're able to call us. We're going to get on the phone right away, really understand what those troubles are and get it resolved as quickly as possible. So Patrick and Jeff are two of the best in the business when it comes to understanding their partners' needs and helping them create an IT solution that's going to protect their business. So really appreciate both of you inviting me for some coffee, and I'm looking forward to talking some IT.
Yeah, thank you for that introduction. So we're going to go ahead and jump into kind of breaking down this triangle. So, as we said, the lower part of that triangle, we do find the decision makers that aren't necessarily in love with technology. They don't see the value in investing in it. Or as we said, some just don't see the need. They don't have a lot of issues with technology, so they don't see the need in really investing in it. So for this type of service, kind of break down, pros and cons of a break fix.
Absolutely. So the biggest pro for the break fix model is that it can be the most cost effective. The analogy I like to use is it's a lot like a mechanic for your car. If everything's running as it should be, you're not going to be spending any money. However, on the same line of thought, that's also the con, is that if you do have a big problem or a major IT issue, it can get pretty costly in a hurry. So it's a high risk, high reward model for a lot of companies.
Yeah, and obviously also bringing into account, if you don't have someone kind of monitoring and managing all this kind of stuff, you are more likely to run into more issues. So let's jump over to the cost of that. Do we have a typical cost for this kind of model?
Yeah, absolutely. So as with most things, it's going to depend on who's performing the work. You may have a neighbor whose son just graduated from college, has some IT experience, and is just going to charge you, $50, $60 an hour to get your Outlook calendar working. But if you have a more severe issue, requires a more experienced technician, sometimes we'll see people charging upwards of $125, $150 an hour for this service.
Okay. Are there any kind of general verticals or businesses that typically use this model?
So one of the biggest myths we see with this model is that companies think if they're a smaller company, 3, 4, 5 employees, this is the only option for them. Really, the companies that we see using this there are definitely some of the smaller companies, but really companies that don't rely super heavily on their IT infrastructure for the daily operations. So you may even have a company of 50, 100 employees, but if the majority of those employees aren't using the computer on a daily basis, this might be the best fit for them.
Okay. So then jumping up into that middle tier, that a la carte type service, here we do get a little bit more into an ongoing service being provided. Like Jeff said, maybe paying monthly for antivirus or hosting Microsoft 365, maybe doing some backups for you. Kind of talk to us about the pros and cons of that.
Absolutely. So the biggest pro for this model is that it allows companies to round out their IT offering. They may have somebody internally who can take care of a lot of the bigger network projects, but that person just doesn't have the time or resources to address those day-to-day issues that pop up. So this is a way for a company to fill in the gaps with their IT offering without jumping up and doing the full managed services. The biggest con we see with this is that there are at times too many people trying to drive the proverbial bus. So you may have your internal IT person who's handling, the network and the backup, but he's not the one you go to for your email issues or your antivirus. And so sometimes it can create some confusion for employees because they're not sure which questions should go to which person.
Right. How about cost for this typical model?
So when we start talking about the a la carte options, it's really going to depend on what you're ordering off the menu. But for the majority of these offerings, it's going to be on a per user basis. So for smaller companies, 5 to 10 employees, they're realistically looking at somewhere in the $250 to $500 per month range. You get into a bigger company, 20 to 30 employees, you might even see this in the $1,000 to $1,500 per month range.
Okay. Do you see any typical, businesses or verticals that use this model more often than not?
Yeah, absolutely. So typically we see this for businesses that understand that IT is important. And if something were to happen to their network and things were to go down, it's gonna really cause some issues, but they may not think that they need to, jump in head first. They can do some of the easier stuff themselves, or they have an employee who can handle it internally. So they want to fill in some of those gaps, but they have a solution, or at least a partial solution already in place.
Okay. So now we're going to jump up to that top part of that triangle, talking about, the fully managed IT services. Why don't you go ahead and just talk to us about some pros and cons on that front?
Definitely. So the biggest pro to this model is that it allows a business owner or company to take IT off of their plate. They're able to focus more on their business. They don't have to worry about, if their IT person quits or is on vacation when there's a major issue. They know that there's somebody whose job is 24/7 to take care of their network, make sure it's up to date, and they're protected. So it just, frees up their time and resources to focus more on running the day-to-day operations of their business. Now, the cons are that this is often the most expensive. And a lot of times we'll see that this can require some upfront investment. If your network's a little older, your hardware is not where it should be, there can be some upfront costs to getting it, up to speed. But a lot of times it's worth the investment, and you're able to finance that as well.
Yeah. So, speaking of investment, what do you typically see on a cost on this model, obviously on a monthly basis?
Absolutely. So looking at this for the standard complete offering, again, this is going to be based on the number of employees. We're usually seeing this somewhere in the $100 to $110 per month range per employee. If you really want to go with the beefy security options, you've got some sensitive data you're protecting, we can even see this up in the $175 to $200 per user per month range.
Okay. And, do you typically see verticals or specific kinds of companies working with this model more than others?
The companies that we see really using this model are ones that have sensitive information that they really want to make sure they're protecting and encrypting. So healthcare companies, law firms, financial companies that when they ask themselves, what would happen if my network was breached and this data that's on my server got out, how crippling would that be to my business? And you also see businesses that just say, I don't want to spend my time worrying about this. I want to let somebody else handle this. I can focus on running my business. Those are the companies that we see engage with this model.
All right. Well, thank you very much for helping us kind of break that down, Zach. I'm going to move on. I wanted to talk a little bit more about kind of the advantages of having that fully managed IT service. On this slide, you see a lot of different areas that IT services may help out a company that has decided to partner with them. Obviously, network security is a big one. That partner is going to run all the AV software and set up and monitor the firewalls. Any access needed from remote users to get into the network, they're going to help set all that up. And 24/7 monitoring of everything on the network, running updates, patches, help desk support, email support, hosting a lot of that kind of stuff. These are all standard features in a fully managed service. Backing up any data in the event of any kind of hardware, power failure, or natural disaster. losing data can be detrimental to a company, not always something that someone thinks about if they're not in this business. Business reviews, we do them quarterly. Also a really important way to help keep a company on a technology curve and help them with any big projects that may be coming up. All this would typically be done if you were to have an on-site or in-house person. Just want to kind of take a step back and make a little comparison. Let's just say the average IT manager around $80,000. Then you got to add in benefits, vacation, all that kind of stuff. They're going to take care of everything that you see on this list here. If you had a company of say 30 computer users, let's say you're paying around $150 a user. That's $54,000 a year for a whole team of people kind of assisting you with IT needs. So just wanted to kind of throw that out there and make that something to think about. Obviously, every company is different, but we wanted to point that out for anybody shopping around. So we kind of pointed out more standard features. So I'm going to kick it back over to Jeff, and he's going to talk about some of the extra bells and whistles or additional features that can be provided by an IT company.
Thanks, Patrick. Yeah, on the next slide here just gives us a little bit of an idea of some of the options and things that we're able to throw in as far as some of the security things that Zach was talking about a little bit. The previous slide that Patrick was going over, those are kind of the standard, you're going to get that with just about every fully managed service, but there's a lot of other things that we can also help you with. Security awareness training, we've talked about this before and another Coffee with Cobb, the phishing testing and phishing email testing and education there. Security auditing and ethical hacking, somebody trying to hack into your network from the outside, making sure it's safe. Dark web monitoring, we've talked about that before too. If you have any guidelines that you have to follow, HIPAA or PCI or some sort of NIST guidelines, we can certainly help you with those sort of things. Other security features like helping you with things like password managers, making sure your employees are using good, strong passwords and disparate passwords across all their accounts. And SIEM and SOC services are, a big thing right now. Things like honeypots, there's a lot of different features that can be added, as needed, depending on what's the best fit for your organization and what you need. There's a lot of different things that we can add in there for you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And we're just going to go ahead and wrap everything up. Those are the three IT services. Cobb lives really in that top part of the triangle. Those are the kinds of businesses and decision makers that we work best with Collaborants. Every business is really different and constantly changing. So we often run into businesses that are growing. They've had that break fix model or they've had that a la carte service, and they're just getting a little bigger and need kind of a fully managed service. That's where we can really jump in and help out. So, but again, every company is different. We just wanted to kind of point out the different kinds of IT services and which may be a best fit for you. So that's our time today, and we're going to go ahead and kick it over to a Q&A session. Christian's going to go ahead and pull that up.
Sure. Right now we've reached the Q&A session, so anyone who's currently watching, if you have any questions, feel free to ask any of those, and we'll try to get to as many as we can as they come in. Jeff, Patrick, or Zach, do you have any roundup thoughts that you may have thought of as we went along that you wanted to add?
No, I mean, just, I think the point of this was really, we do run into a lot of different companies when we are talking to them that don't exactly know what they're looking for, whether it be kind of a break fix model. As I said, we've talked to a lot of different companies that, as they're growing, need to kind of make adjustments and take a real step back and look at everything. And you don't know what you don't know. And if you're not in the IT business, there's a lot of things out there that, are set up to protect your business that you may not know about. So just wanted to make everyone aware to do your research, do your homework, and there's a lot of different options out there.
Gotcha. All right. Let's see, it looks like we have our first question here, and This person is asking, will a lower level break fix IT service have particularly a bad service, or should I move up to a partial managed or fully managed service to get the best service?
No, I'll go ahead and jump in on that.
Sure.
I think the answer to that is that it's really going to depend. I think Zach kind of pointed that out. You could be paying a higher premium for a much better break fix service. The fact that it's a break fix service doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be bad service. If it's not something that you need on a monthly basis, or if it's not something that you're needing enough to pay for on a monthly basis, then a break fix service could work just fine. If you're calling them, maybe once a month and he's charging you $150 an hour and he takes care of you and fixes what you need, then I'd say that's a success.
All right. So give a little time for any other questions to come in, just in case anyone's trying to catch up. And for anybody who's just now attending or who have come in about halfway through, we will be recording this webinar. So if there's anything you missed, we will be sending emails out to those of you who signed up who just may have come on late. And also we have a video archive on our website, cobbtechnologies.com as well. So you can always go back and watch previous Coffee with Cobbs that you may have missed that you're interested in. Let's see here. We got another question here from Jake. And Jake is asking, would you guys mind explaining the difference between that proactive versus reactive approach? Who'd like to take that one?
I'll go ahead and take this one.
Sure.
So when we talking about the proactive versus reactive approach, what that really means is when you start getting into the a la carte, or especially that top tier of the fully managed services, the goal is to make it so that the end user isn't seeing any of the results. We want to catch those issues before they ever become apparent to the end user. And so we're being proactive and making sure that we're always monitoring the networks. And if something goes down at 2:30 in the morning, we're able to see that and address it before the first employee walks in at 6:30 and boots up their computer. Whereas on the reactive approach, it's more of that break fix model where you don't know something's broken until you feel it and you notice that things aren't working as they should be. And that's when you engage with somebody to address those issues. So it's just a matter of, are we able to beat the troubles to the punch and fix them before they become real issues for a business, or are we waiting until they become more visible and apparent?
All right. Sounds good. We've just got a flood of 3 different questions here as you were answering that one. Is there a contract or agreement associated with any of these levels?
Yeah, typically on that top tier fully managed service, there will be a contract. And then once you get down into the a la carte, there may be a contract for the specific services. If your partner is going to be doing your backups for you, you're generally going to sign a contract for that. Or if they're going to be monitoring all the computers on your network or running the antivirus or anything like that, there would be a contract for that. And then maybe on that portion, as far as any kind of help desk or anything like that, they may sell you a block of time, maybe 20, 40 hours. And then as you call in, those hours get chopped up until they're all gone. So then obviously on the break fix model, I don't typically see a contract for that. That's more of a kind of pay as you go as needed.
All right. And let's see, we have more of a statement, not actually a question here. It says, it feels like the break fix guy, whoever is providing that service, has all the wrong incentives and not actually fixing the underlying problems. I guess as if they're applying a Band-Aid to the issue. Is that right?
Yeah, I'll kind of add a little bit of comment on that too, there, Christian. It's if you kind of think about it from the break fix guy or that sort of service, if you're not calling this person, if they're not coming and fixing your issue, then they're not getting paid, right? So in one hand, it can almost be like, I'm just going to resolve this issue and I'm going to need to move on to my next customer or my next call or, my next ticket, where, it would be best for you if your IT service is figuring out, all right, here's an issue, what happened? Why did this happen? Is there something else going on here? Is there something more we need to look into? And when you're paying per hour or even on a block of time or something, a lot of times it's, hurry up and get this fixed and move on so I don't have to continue paying you. There's sometimes that, that fully managed or it's a flat rate type of service, we're kind of aligned. Obviously we don't want to be taking over your computer or making you having you have any more downtime than you need. So we want to hurry up and get this issue fixed for you, so we don't incur a ton of expenses being on site with you trying to fix the issue. So obviously, that fully managed service there, it's sometimes a little more aligned with what the same thing that you as a business owner may be thinking too.
So you're saying it's more like we're more like a technical partnership for any clients that we currently serve, right?
Sure. Yeah. That's a great way to say that.
All right. Let's see. We got a couple more questions we'll try to get to here. We've got a flood of them coming in. Let's see. Someone is asking if they're a medium-sized healthcare practice with 30 to 40 people. Do they have to get a la carte option or a fully managed option for that office?
I'll go ahead and take this one.
Yeah.
So first off, given that it's the healthcare field, I hope that you already have some sort of security and IT solution in place. So at that point, it really depends on what your current structure looks like. And given that you're dealing with healthcare information and medical records, encryption and security are really going to be top of mind. And so it really depends on what that current structure looks like. I think for healthcare, given that size, fully managed would be a really good way to make sure that things are completely covered. Mm-hmm. But if you already have the fundamentals in place and you want a second set of eyes to make sure that all of the emails with medical records are encrypted, and if a laptop was stolen, that those disks aren't going to be able to be easily accessed, that's when you might look at the a la carte. So this is an example of a company that would do well for themselves to engage with Cobb, Jeff, and Patrick to make sure that everybody has a good understanding of what that current IT solution looks like, if there's any areas of opportunity to fortify that and make sure they're protected.
All right, so it seems like we're coming up short on time. So what I'm going to do is combine the last two questions we have here and see if we can round this up here. So the first part of this question is asking, what are the next steps to move forward if they are interested in going with us as a service provider? And what is the benefit, I guess, from our side of partnering up with collaborants and helping to provide support to any of our customers?
So kind of that, to answer that first part of that question, if anyone was interested in engaging with us to find out if we can help them out, an email or a call to myself or Jeff, or I think we're gonna put an email up here right at the end for anybody who is interested or wants to get any more information. But we would start off with a phone call. Obviously, in the times that we're in, we'd love to come on site and really spec everything out and then take a look at everything. Eventually that would happen. But we would really want to hop on a call and just get as much information from you guys about your company, how you use technology, and then really come back and be able to hopefully answer all your questions and provide solutions for all your issues. From there, we would implement everything. It usually takes, we like to say about 60 days to really get everything up and running and going live. So that's kind of to a little bit answer your first question. The second question, I believe, was the kind of the benefits of Collaborants. Was that right?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
So Collaborants is a tremendous partner of ours. They do provide our help desk services. So if you do have any issues, you call into them, and you've got around 30 different help desk technicians ready to answer any questions or issues that you may have. And they also, on the back end with us, kind of help talk to us and really provide us the best solutions and the best way we can implement certain softwares and certain strategies moving forward so that it is the best fit for your company.
All right, it sounds great. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Zach, for joining us. And thanks, Jeff. If you have any other questions for anyone who's going back and watching this later or who wasn't able to ask any questions during the webinar, you can reach us at coffee@cobbtechnologies.com. And thank you for joining us as always.